Remember when Subway was everywhere? Shopping centers, petrol stations, and tucked into random shopping strips, it was like they had a sandwich shop for every man, woman, and child in Australia. And you knew you were close to one because of that weird smell. No one ever really figured it out, but it was unmistakable. And for years, that smell meant success. Subway had more stores in Australia than any other fast food chain at one point. But fast forward to now, and Subway is quietly disappearing. Since 2015, more than 200 stores have shut down across Australia. No dramatic collapses, just dimmed lights and for lease signs. So, what happened? Why is Subway dying a slow death in the land of flat whites and footy? In this video, we'll discuss it. Subway landed in Australia back in 1988, just in time for perms and shoulder pads, and throughout the 90s and 2000s, it absolutely exploded. The whole pitch was genius. Fast food you could customize. You weren't stuck with a burger someone made 10 minutes ago under a heat lamp. You could walk in, point to a bread, pick your meats, your cheese, your veggies, and walk out feeling like you made something personal. And maybe, just maybe, you could pretend it was healthy. Eat fresh was the motto, and for a while, it really worked. People were over greasy burgers. Subway felt cleaner, a bit lighter. No deep fryers, no grease splatter, just sandwiches made fresh in front of you, and the idea of eating a chicken teriyaki sub with lettuce and tomato felt like you were winning at life. Even if it was quietly drenched in sugary sauce and sodium levels that could stun a horse. But while Subway was expanding rapidly, not everything was as fresh as it seemed. Beneath the surface, some serious cracks were forming, especially in the way the business was being run here in Australia. One of the biggest problem areas was the franchise model itself. Subway has one of the largest franchise systems in the world, and on paper, that sounds like a great setup. You get entrepreneurs on the ground running the stores, spreading the brand. But in reality, Subway's franchise model in Australia turned into a sandwich-shaped nightmare. In 2017, reports surfaced from franchisees who said they were basically set up to fail. Subway was approving new stores way too close to existing ones, sometimes even in the same shopping center. So franchisees were forced to compete with one another for the same foot traffic. Some operators claimed they were pressured into opening more stores in oversaturated areas, despite already struggling to turn a profit. One owner, straight up, said, "I was losing money the day I opened." That's not how franchising is supposed to work. Add to that strict controls from Subway HQ over pricing and suppliers, and franchisees were stuck. No room to adjust, no freedom to fix things locally, and no real backup when the numbers didn't add up. It was a tough spot for store owners, and from the outside, customers were starting to notice something wasn't quite right either. Around 2017, Subway's reputation as the healthy fast food choice started to unravel. For years, they'd owned that lane. Customizable subs, lots of veggies, no deep fryers in sight. But as nutrition labels got more attention, some of the numbers didn't quite match the brand's health-conscious image. One popular item, the sweet onion chicken teriyaki sub, comes in at around 17.6 grams of sugar for a 6-inch serving. A sandwich loaded with that much sugar, it wasn't exactly what most customers had in mind when they ordered what felt like a smart, balanced lunch. Add in the sodium, over 600 milligrams in that same sub, and you can see why health-conscious consumers started asking harder questions. The eat fresh image was still there, but the numbers told a more complicated story. And then, of course, there was the bread scandal. In 2020, the Supreme Court of Ireland ruled that Subway's bread had too much sugar in it to be legally classified as bread. According to Irish law, it was basically cake. Now sure, this happened in Ireland, but the story made international headlines. It trended in Australia, it became a meme, and suddenly that smell we all thought was bread baking? Yeah, not so appetizing anymore. And beyond all the bigger issues, there was something else that started creeping in. Subway began to feel kind of stale. And no, not the bread, the brand itself. The overall in-store experience started slipping. Some locations still looked clean and updated, but others felt frozen in time, like they hadn't seen a proper renovation since the early 2000s. Menus were faded, floors felt sticky, and ingredients often looked like they'd been sitting there way too long, slowly losing the will to live under fluorescent lights. Even the thing that once set Subway apart, the customization, started to feel more like a chore. Standing in line, rattling off your choices one by one while trying to decide between ranch, chipotle, or honey mustard, all while the person behind you sighs louder with every second. It stopped feeling empowering and started feeling like a lunchtime exam. Sometimes you don't want to build your own adventure. You just want someone to hand you good food fast and let you be on your way. Meanwhile, the competition was evolving fast. In came brands like Grilled, Zambrero, GYG, and Soul Origin. They offered fresher menus, bolder flavors, slick interiors, and an overall vibe that felt more aligned with what modern Australians wanted. People were trading up. Why get a soggy meatball sub when you could get a char-grilled chicken wrap with chimichurri and pickled jalapenos from a brand that actually felt cool? Don't even get me started on local cafes. Your average corner cafe can now whip up a better sandwich with sourdough, premium meats, and gourmet fillings for pretty much the same price as a footlong. Plus, they'll call you mate and throw in a loyalty card. But Subway's problems didn't end at competition. They were global. Since 2015, the company has closed over 6,000 stores worldwide. And while Australia didn't face every international scandal directly, the brand reputation took a hit. Take the Jared Fogle scandal. He was the face of Subway for over a decade. His dramatic weight loss made him the poster child for Eat Fresh. Then he was sentenced to 15 years in prison for truly awful crimes. That kind of association is hard to scrub off, and even though Australia wasn't directly involved, the whole brand felt tainted. At the same time, Subway's marketing started falling behind. While brands like Macca's were rolling out spicy nuggets, cheeky ads, and limited edition collabs, Subway's campaigns just didn't keep up. They felt safe, flat, and easily forgettable. There was no real buzz, no bold ideas, nothing that made you stop scrolling and pay attention. And in a TikTok-driven world where brands need to show personality, humor, or at least something different to stay relevant, Subway was stuck. It didn't evolve, didn't take risks, just quietly existed in the background, hoping you'd remember it was still there. To be fair, Subway has tried to make a comeback. In 2021, they launched a global overhaul called the Eat Fresh Refresh. They introduced new bread recipes, upgraded ingredients, and redesigned a few stores to feel more modern. Some Aussie locations got mini makeovers, and the menus started to feature a few slightly more premium items. But the changes weren't enough. At least not yet. The core problems, like inconsistent quality, outdated design, and franchisee dissatisfaction, are still hanging around like a weird smell in the sandwich oven. So, is Subway completely doomed in Australia? Not necessarily. It still has hundreds of stores across the country, and plenty of people still eat there. Some genuinely like it. Others just want something fast, predictable, and relatively cheap. And to be fair, there's a certain comfort in knowing you can get the same turkey and avocado sub in Perth, Parramatta, or Port Douglas. But let's be real, Subway isn't leading the fast food scene anymore. And unless it figures out how to win back customers with better food, better service, and a much better vibe, that slow contraction we've been seeing, it'll continue. Because right now, Subway in Australia isn't crashing. It's not imploding, it's just slowly fading out. Quietly, one forgotten store at a time. So next time you walk past a closed Subway with the logo still faintly visible on the glass, know that it didn't go out with a bang. It went out with a sad, slightly soggy whisper. So what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below and let's discuss. And if you enjoyed this story, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you never miss out on more deep dives like this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay curious.